Well, we're back from Canmore, Alberta, where we spent a week, and I've put together another video for you. It's showing the progress or process of creating a digital painting in Procreate, and I talk about context and 8 tips that we can use to help us deal with the creative process in the context of our lives. So I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today I'll be sharing with you this process painting for a banner for social media for OnSpec Magazine. If you're unfamiliar with OnSpec Magazine, they are a speculative fiction anthology that gets, I believe, distributed quarterly, and it's basically a gathering of stories by a number of different writers who submit their work to be published. It's kind of a hotbed for finding new creative talent in science fiction and fantasy storytelling. I've been lucky enough to work with them on a few projects. Diane Walton, one of the head editors over there, has been working with me on a few projects over the years. They've commissioned me to do a few specific pieces and also have licensed a few pieces of mine to go on their cover and in some advertising, which is super cool and very encouraging. And they're a fantastic team to work with. They're critical and they know what they want, which is really nice. And they also are very good at providing feedback and creative direction. And they pay well. They pay fair for what they ask for, and it's a real blessing to be able to work with them. This piece is an extension of the, I guess, written universe that I've been working on for a novel called Echoes, which is kind of on hold at the moment as I'm working on Possum Awesome and other things like my portrait series and things of that nature. Echoes is a story that I really, really want to tell, and I want to do it well. And so I'm kind of putting it on the side while I learn more about writing and I learn better treatments of story and how to better structure a story so that when I get down to writing, it will be excellent. I've already got like 75,000 words, I believe, on that story done. However, I probably am likely going to start from the beginning when I get back to it and put together a proper outline and then just start from the ground up again. I think working on Possum Awesome will have by that time given me a lot of learning and a lot of growth as a writer. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it. This location in this painting that you're looking at being produced here is a location in the story and kind of reflects the overall feel of the world, I suppose you could say. Anyway, what I wanted to get down to today while this video plays in the background is to discuss some aspects of context. I made a post on my blog a while back about how 100% effort is contextual. I've been talking and thinking about effort in regards to the creative process and how when we work hard and we apply 100% of our effort to our creative endeavors or whatever endeavor you may be undertaking, you will succeed at some level. It will turn into fruit. So your actions will produce good things, whether that's just work that you're proud of or people begin to recognize your work or you make monetary gains, whatever the case may be, it will produce some kind of fruit. But I've been thinking about that aspect of producing work at 100% of your effort, and 100% of our effort is highly contextual. So there's going to be different parts of our lives where we can give 100% of our effort, and it is genuinely 100 or maybe 110% of what we can offer. And in those times, we're fortunate that our context is just great. So life is going well, income is good, we don't have to worry about money, food, provision, all those things are taken care of, and we just have time. because really one of the biggest commodities that we lack and that we need for creative growth and stability is time. So I've hit that sort of understanding here now around all this stuff. I'm 42 years old. I have a 14-year-old daughter. I have a 12-year-old son. I'm almost been married for 19 years. I have an amazing wife. And we've got 5 horses, 2 goats, I think 8 chickens, 4 cats, a German Shepherd, and I live on this beautiful acreage that requires a lot of effort and time. Not to mention the fact that I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I run a small business in Edmonton with my business partner Kelly Mellings, which I'm sure you guys, if you've been following me, you've heard me talk about it before, Pulp Studios, Inc. It's an animation and illustration studio, and we produce work for a wide variety of clientele. And that's my day-to-day. So I spend full-time hours at that creative job and creative endeavor, and then I'm trying to fit all this other stuff in on in my spare time. And as I'm saying spare time, I'm making air quotes. So it's challenging. So, when I was younger, I could work 15 hours a day, get a few winks, rinse and repeat. But now that I'm 42, it sounds like a catalyst for a near-death experience. I've just been recognizing that my capacities have reduced over the past 3 to 4 years. And I'm not like trying to paint a doom and gloom picture. Ooh, getting older sucks, life is hard, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. I do genuinely feel older. Things are just harder. Working out, exercise, putting in all that time at work, it's just harder for me. I can't spend the same amount of time and put in the same hours as I used to. It's chipping away at my resolve and my energy reserves for sure. And it could be sort of a cumulative effect of running at such a high clip for so many years while I've been building my business. So Pulp Studios has been running for 10 years now, but I had a business prior to that where it was just a one-person shop. It was just myself doing graphic design. So yeah, I've been working at a high pace, and I've just come to the sober realization that my capacity is reduced. At the same time, my desire to grow in my creativity, my creative abilities, it seems to be ratcheting up. I think that's a byproduct of getting older as well, and sort of that whole saying of like with age comes wisdom. Well, I think there's a sense of self that we gain as we age, and you get a little bit more of an objective point of view of where your skill level is and what your energies are and what the world around you requires of you. I've written and posted about the artist journey before and how it's a long-term journey, and that like really we're never going to achieve what we want to be. Our ultimate goal as artists is really futile in the big picture. We're going to die before we reach our final potential. I'll never quote unquote arrive as an artist. And I believe this is one of the factors that drives many creatives. We search and strive for beauty, and that striving motivates us. I think we might work on a piece and we might feel that it's successful and it produces sort of this wellspring of joy that drives us on to the next piece because it's so satisfying. Or we might work through a piece and just not be achieving what we want to achieve. And it's like this murk of a creative struggle where nothing seems to work, and it seems like you couldn't draw to save your life. And that keeps us humble and searching. And I think it keeps us active in our creativity. It's kind of like a deer panting for water. We pant for growth and success as creatives. Sometimes the context that we find ourselves in betrays our creative journey. I've written, like I said, about 100% effort being contextual. So at one point in your life, 100% effort might be 50% of your actual potential capacity because life is beating you down. Maybe you've got a loved one who's sick. Maybe you're battling sickness yourself, or maybe there's money struggles or whatever. So many things can become challenges that they will stifle your capacity to apply 100% of your effort all the time. Often in these situations, what manifests in my own life is an unpleasant mix of frustration and melancholy thoughts. And then eventually I kind of get to like this Eeyore level of sullenness where I'm like just down. You know, I always think of Eeyore where how he talks like, if it is a good day, which I doubt. That's kind of how I get. So I've been thinking about all of this, and I tried to thought, well, okay, so this is all reality, and I guess came to the idea that I should try to do something about it. So what can or like we do about this as creative people? I mean, we could stop whining and go get a real job, and just work 9 to 5 somewhere, and then go do whatever after work. But for me, that's not likely. So how about this? These suggestions, maybe something will trigger for you guys. I've just been thinking about it, so I thought I would share. So number 1, revisit. So this is a process of taking a look at your work from years ago. So when I look at my years, my work like 10 years ago, there's some pretty cool stuff. There's a piece that I did that got into Applied Arts Magazine as an illustration award for self-promotional work. And I'm really proud of it. It's one of my better pieces I think I've ever done. I spent a ton of time on it, like 30 to 40 hours at least. So that's a byproduct of what I was talking about. At that point in time, I just had more energy to apply the time that I needed to do good work. And then there's some other stuff that I've done where I can absolutely see growth in my skill. And some of it's kind of chunky, partly because I was beginning my understanding and work in digital tool sets. Anyways, what is refreshing is that I do see that I'm growing. So if you are in a similar spot as me, and you have work from 10 years ago, take a look at your work and just kind of take stock of where you are as an artist now compared to then. So number 2, be real. Realize that at a certain point, growth becomes harder. I often think about, in regards to this, I think about a golfer, for example. On their journey to the PGA, let's say, going from a consistent 100 strokes to 90 strokes is easy. From 90 to 80 is not too bad. To get from 80 to 70 strokes is absurdly difficult. And if you want to get from 70 to 60, it's nigh impossible. Of course, their performance depends on many factors, like the course, the weather, the time of day, humidity, etc., etc. This is a great analogy of life and our creative journey. On your best shooting day, you might be playing in a storm or a crazy wind, things outside of your control. And to get from 80 to 70 in a vacuum of perfect conditions is difficult enough. In the glorious roiling torrent of our lives, of a life well lived, well, I mean, it's interesting, right? So you get my point, I think. So just be realistic about kind of where you're at and what's going on around you in your life. Don't expect too much out of yourself. Artists often do this. We really, really desire to grow and be the best. And sometimes we can only be the best that we can be. And it is what it is. So number 3, observe. Look around you and take stock of your life. Are you generally content? If you're unsettled, is it your art that's bugging you, or is it something else? Are you taking care of yourself? A lot of times artists don't do things like get rest, exercise, eat well, or take care of your own like spiritual, emotional needs. And all of these factors, they greatly, they're super important, and they are important to be able to have a clear perspective in regards to your creative journey. For me personally, this is super important. There's been many aspects of my life that I've struggled with, and there's so much stuff going on between family, friends, work, and my church. If I'm not careful, I can end up neglecting myself. And when I start to neglect myself, I ending up just totally fatigued, and I'm not able to create things the way that I should be. I also end up really scattered in my creative processes, and then I don't really finish anything, which has always been a real struggle for me. And maybe I can post something about that later. I gotta get some things done and sort of think through that stuff some more, but it is definitely a topic of conversation that needs to be brought up for creatives. Number 4, consult. Talk with people that you love and you trust. I think there's 2 types of people that you should include in your roster of confidants. I think loved ones are great because they will support you and encourage you. And I think mentors or like objective peers are great because they'll tell you how it really is. So the former, family members and such, are great in times of struggle because they can comfort you and they can remind you of what's truly important. And then the latter, objective peers or mentors, are wonderful because they can direct you. They can be direct, and if they need to be, and they can give you what you really need to move forward. I think both of them are really essential to a healthy creative journey. Number 5, accept. So just accept things. Your situation is what it is. Your skill level is what it is. The pressures of life around you are what they are. I have a saying that I think that I use kind of to help myself with this stuff. And I think that it would make a great title or an idea for a children's book. And it goes like this: it is what it is. It's not what it's not. I think it'd be a cool, like, rhymey children's book. Anyway, once you accept your life context, you can begin to assert change in your life. Number 6, practice gratitude. I don't know about you guys, but I can easily forget how blessed I am. I'm fortunate enough to live here in this beautiful planet, in a peaceful country, on this amazing acreage, with incredible people. I have a successful business that I run with my amazing friend, and I get to come home every day to my best friend and my beautiful kids. I mean, life is busy, but man, it's really, really good life. It is very beautiful. Every time someone sits through an explanation of the 2 novels I'm writing, which I found myself doing at the Edmonton Art Walk recently, the White Ave Art Walk, my wife was there with a booth and I was helping out, and I just met this person and they started talking to me about creative stuff, and they genuinely wanted to listen to me talk about my crazy book ideas for like 20 minutes. And to me, that's amazing. Like, I'm so grateful for people that are willing to like listen and get engaged with what my ideas are. It's super cool. Also, give thanks to God for what you have. I don't know where you're at spiritually, but for me, that's extremely important to have a source, a gratitude for something bigger than myself that provides for the needs of my family and myself. And also thank the people around you for supporting you, and just be really appreciative. Number 7, refocus. Write down some new goals. If you have written down goals before, revisit them and take realistic stock of them. I think doing this is really healthy. It'll help you sort of look at some goals and realize that maybe they were too grandiose or large to be realistically achieved in the current context of your life. Or maybe you'll just find yourself prioritizing all the things that you want to do in a better way and make things more achievable and get you closer to finishing something sooner. This is something I often run into. I'm a highly creative, ambitious creative person. I want to write novels. I want to write graphic novels and draw graphic novels and children's books. I want to have an art show of original paintings. I want to instruct and help new and struggling artists. I want to be an expert at drawing and painting the human figure. I want to create a series of paintings that draw people to the love of Jesus. I want to create some animated work outside of my day-to-day at my animation studio that I run with my business partner. Like, no big deal, right? It's not very much. I can do this. What generally happens to me is I end up with too many balls in the air, and things just remain unfinished. And my many initiatives kind of just stall out. I end up not accomplishing anything. So I'm working at remedying that. I realize that it's a problem in my life and it's something that I need to work on. As I figure that out, I'll maybe share with you guys. I think putting down plans down on paper has always seemed to help me, and sort of creating some self-imposed deadlines is very helpful as well. Number 8, amongst and above all else, do not give up. Do not give in. Make healthy changes and move on. Your work is too important to give up on. I believe in you guys. We as artists are super important to the world. And I truly believe this with all my heart. I think creative people make such an impact in the world around us and I don't think this is maybe getting on a soapbox a bit, but I really don't think we're appreciated for what we offer the world as much as we should be. But nevertheless, you need to bring what you have to the world. You never know what your work can do. You might change a person's mind. You might help a person through depression. You might bring people together and give them something common to talk about. You may just bring joy to somebody and create something that people just get joy out of. That's just a beautiful, amazing thing and a gift that you have to give the world. So do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your dreams and keep working through stuff. At Pulp Studios, we're working on a graphic novel right now about the Group of Seven for a client. The Group of Seven were a group of artists in Canada who, in the early 1900s and to mid-1900s, created a whole bunch of artwork that helped identify a national art style for Canada and helped sort of settle Canada as a art-producing nation. And really, their journey was tied into many things related to Canada around our identity and, I guess you could say, sovereign identity. So it's kind of a cool time, and what they did was amazing. And their work is actually quite beautiful. And the context in which they practice their art is quite fascinating. I might do a post on this at some point too, maybe after the graphic novel's done and out. But there's one thing that I really love in the research that we've done that we came across. It's a slogan that they had painted on the side of a boxcar that they, train boxcar that they used on their trips to go to Algoma in Ontario. It goes like this: Ars longa vita brevis, which means art is long, life is short. I think I'll leave it with that, you guys. Until next time, be good to each other. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see more content, please click one of the videos on the screen. If you'd like to be notified when all my videos go up, please click the bell icon. And if you'd like to follow me on social medias, you can find me on patreon.com/Corey Lansdell. I'm at Corey Lansdell on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook as well. Until next time, you guys, be good to each other.